Iran is the most important issue today in foreign policy. And it is the most difficult issue, maybe an impossible issue, for the President of the United States and the Prime Minister of Israel. Because what do? Do you, as an Israeli, again, with the psychology of the Holocaust, and having heard the President of Iran threaten to destroy you, and now they have the capability to do that, do you want to be the Prime Minister who waits too long to do something about it and takes the risk? Well, maybe he didn't mean it. Can you afford, as the Prime Minister of Israel, to think, well, he didn't mean it? Can you afford to rely on deterrence? Yes, Israel probably has a nuclear deterrent that could respond. Do you trust that the Iranians will respond the way the Russians did? I would suggest, again, the people who say that don't look at the religious component. Because if you look at the religious component, you listen to what Ahmadinejad, and if you have trouble pronouncing his name, just think, Ahmed, I need a job. I mean, he says, you know, the destruction of Israel, the apocalypse, will bring about the return of the hidden imam. So if you believe in this apocalyptic Islamic vision, then maybe blowing up Israel, even if you get blown up too, isn't such a bad thing. You end up with those 72 virgins. Yeah. Although I heard that there's another Arabic translation for virgins that's raisins, so these guys are in for a big surprise. So that's one decision. Barack Obama has to make a similar decision. Now one of the things that's been a problem is we've cast this too much, in terms of Israel. It's not about Israel. I mean, think who's leading the attack against Iran. It's Germany, France, and Britain. And who's most scared? Saudi Arabia, Kuwait, Bahrain, Egypt. Morocco's already broken relations with Iran. The Arab countries are the most scared. And what are the implications for those who say, okay, we can live with the nuclear Iran? Hillary Clinton suggested, well, we'll provide an umbrella to protect everybody. Well, 12 Arab states have signed nuclear cooperation agreements in the last couple of years. Do you think they're all running out of oil and just need nuclear power plants? I don't think so. You're not really talking about just deterring Iran. You're potentially talking about having to deter multiple countries. And so if you're Israel again, can you afford to try to protect yourself against multiple nuclear powers? Okay, we've been lobbying for sanctions. Well, I would argue sanctions are a complete and utter waste of time and a failure. Number one, we haven't gotten sanctions because the Russians and the Chinese refuse to go along with them. Number two, almost all the major countries ignore them. Just look at the multi-billion-dollar deals China has. Again, you go to my website, jewishvirtuallibrary.org. We have just a brief list of all the deals that have been made. And one of the biggest problems with sanctions and a lot of this attack on the Iranians is nobody thinks of it from the Iranian perspective. Think about it if you're an Iranian. You are a citizen of a great country with 1,000 years of history as a great nation, a world power, much longer than the United States has been around. You want to be a world power again. And how do you become a world power in 2010? By having a nuclear capability. And yes, okay, the West wants to make our oil prices go up, our gas prices go up. Maybe we have to pay more for bread. But can I live with a little bit of sacrifice in exchange for getting a nuclear bomb and becoming a superpower? And look what happened with Pakistan and India. Nobody wanted them to be nuclear powers, but now that they have it, everybody treats them like a normal country, trades with them. The United States trades with them. So won't that happen with us too? So if you're an Iranian, why would you care if they're putting sanctions on you? Why would you give up the chance to be a superpower and to possibly dominate the Middle East just because, you know, these Westerners don't like it? You know, what right do you, Americans or Israelis or Indians, have to have a nuclear bomb and not us? What makes you entitled to it, not me, in Iran? If you think about it from their perspective, what they're doing is perfectly logical and rational. And so how are you going to convince them to give that up with these some of these nonsensical steps that we've been talking about. And we're negotiating. It's a complete joke that Barack Obama says, I'm going to negotiate. Well, the Europeans negotiated for 4 years. And then the Iranian chief negotiator said, you know what? It was great. While they were negotiating, we were building nuclear weapons. We can do this, as long as you want to talk. We'll talk right up until the point that the mushroom cloud goes up over Washington. So, I can understand from one point of view, okay, Obama wants to negotiate, and he can say, okay, I tried everything. I tried sanctions, I tried negotiation, and that left me with no alternative but something else. Okay, well, what's the something else? Maybe it's military. Well, I'm not here trying to tell you military solutions the answer either. I think military action is the only way to stop the nuclear, or stop their program, but that doesn't mean it's the best solution, because there are consequences. Can Israel or the United States knock out all of their nuclear facilities? Do we know where they all are? Can we slow them down, or will we not slow them down? What's going to be the response? Is this going to be worldwide terrorism against Americans and Jews around the world? Is there going to be a hail of rockets from Lebanon and Gaza? What is the consequence? Is it worth the risk involved in the military operation? It's, I think, an impossible decision that Netanyahu and Obama have to make. People say, okay, Mitchell, what would you tell them? I don't know. I think it's just an incredibly difficult dilemma, but it's one that, that's what they get paid to do. And they have to make a decision in the near future.